What is going on, people, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we have a topic that is quite close to my heart and that I have been stung by, and I have paid a lot of money to the government to get around these random made up rules what they implemented just as I was learning to ride my motorcycle. And that is how to get a motorcycle licence in the UK. Now, it's not as simple as what you might think, and if you are over the age of 30 and you got your licence when you were younger, you probably just think you've got to ride a motorcycle, do a test, and then you just get whatever you want. But now it's changed. There are different motorcycle licences, different rules for different people. It's pretty bonkers, to be honest, the way it works, but it's all based on age. And what we're going to do is going to go through what you need from start to finish. So I'm going to start off with, if you're the age of 16 and you're about to get your moped, right the way until you get your big bike. So what you can do is you can probably skip this video ahead if you don't care what you need to do when you're 16 and maybe you're 18 or 20 and you're looking at what licence you can get and what motorcycle you can get. But we'll start off with the AM licence, the Alpha Mike licence. So from the age of 16 you can have a moped between 25 kilometres an hour to 45 kilometres an hour. Seems a bit odd that it can't go slower than 25 kilometres an hour. It's a good job they don't test these uphill, because I certainly know a few mopeds that won't get that uphill. And yeah, to get that you just have to do your traditional CBT. You'll do that on a moped, you'll get your AM licence. But I seem to remember people just being able to ride mopeds when I was younger. But this is what the DVLA website does state, that you have to do the CBT to get this AM licence. And if someone has just recently gone through the process and they can tell me their personal experience on any of these topics, then let me know, because a lot of this information is simply coming from me reading literature. As we get further down the list, I've experienced it and I've been through the process, but these earlier parts, yeah, it just comes from me reading literature. So now, at the age of 17, once you've got your CBT, you can now get your A1 licence, which is the first licence really where you can get a bike that maybe looks like a big bike. It's not the moped styling. And then you can get a 125cc with no more power than 0.1 kilowatts per kilogram, or no more than 15 kilowatts in total. Now, I think for the most part of it, you don't really have to worry about those values and making sure that you fall into them, because a lot of the 125s made for the road are made for CBT riders, so the power output should be tailored towards you, so you shouldn't really have to worry about that. However, you will probably have to worry about that if you're planning on getting maybe a 2-stroke KTM and making it road legal, because you could get a 125 2-stroke KTM that would be way quicker than these 2-strokes what you're probably going to get that are like homodulated for the road. That being said though, when you do register these bikes, I for sure know that on the Enduro Riders community, there are a few people that are running CBTs that have 125s, and yes, they mainly use them on legal byways, but I would be very surprised if they fall into this category of power output, just simply because they're such lightweight machines and so powerful, and certainly the 2-stroke variants, they're definitely not short of power. And it is a very odd way to do it. A power output per kilogram, like what does that even say? You know, women that ride the bike would therefore have a faster bike because they're lighter, and if they're restricted to the weight of the bike, it kind of doesn't account for the person that's on the bike. You could have a big slug riding this bike and it won't move at all, but then you could have a woman that weighs next to nothing and this bike will be as dangerous as a CBR 600. So yeah, it's very odd, and it does seem like the people that have made these laws definitely don't ride motorbikes, or definitely have no real knowledge about the motorbiking structure and how much the weight of a person can change the performance of a motorcycle, for example. And also the way that they're rating these on kilowatts and not even taking torques into account, but we digress. So then, once you've got your A1, you can then move on to your A2, and this is at the age of 19. Basically, you can now get the first style of the big bike, and this is where I now have personal experience with this. So my progression onto motorcycles, I started at the A2 point. I never got a CBT. I did my CBT test just basically because it was compulsory, but then I went straight on and did a crash course to get my A2 license. Now, A2 license basically means that you can have a maximum of 35 kilowatts or 0.2 kilowatt per kilogram. And if it's a restricted bike, because you can restrict any bike to have this output, if it's a restricted bike, it can't be restricted to less than half its original power. So if you've got a bike that's over 70 kilowatts, you can't restrict that. It's too big of an initial bike to restrict it. Don't get me wrong, you could physically restrict it. There's no reason why you couldn't get that to have less than 35 kilowatts, but the DVLA have stated that if it is a bigger bike, you can't have that restricted down for the A2 license purposes. Now this is where I say they fall foul, because my first bike was a Yamaha Mt-03, which at the time fell within the rules of this, and it's quite an old bike. You see a lot of more newer bikes coming out now that are basically tailored towards the A2 license. That's where you're getting your smaller Ninjas from, your smaller Yamaha R3s I believe it is, and they are basically smaller engine bikes tailored straight towards the A2. But when I got this, it was very, very new, so there were no real tailored bike. And one of the bikes that I did find was the Yamaha Mt-03, and the reason why it's not got the high output what you'd expect is because it's a single cylinder, it's a big thumping engine, but it's got lots and lots and lots of torque. And I used to ride with like sports bikes on this at the time, and you couldn't really tell much of a difference between the two. I mean, of course the sports bikes had a much higher top end, and this bike didn't go, you know, over 110 mile an hour. I mean, I forget exactly what it went, but it definitely didn't have a high top end. But getting there was just as quick as any other bike, and that is where I feel like they're falling foul a little bit. But there are lots of bikes that you can get that maybe work around these rules, so we can maybe go into that in another video. So if you are interested in getting a bike or getting these licenses, and you're wondering what kind of bikes you can get and how you can get a faster bike or a better bike while maintaining within the rules of what DVLA have set out, then let me know down below and we can make a video on that in the future. But the Mt-03, if you are on an A2 license, is a fantastic bike. A little bit of a story, I won't go into it too much, probably skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear my stupid stories. But when I had the Yamaha Mt-03, I put a full tank of diesel in that thing and ran it for 90 miles. Now I was aware that I'd put diesel in. It was something I was like, oh, this is a bit sluggish. I realised as soon as I paid for it that it was an expensive tank of petrol at the time. And yeah, so I put the diesel in, I ran it for 90 miles. I had a destination I needed to get to, it was time critical. I knew I was well prepared that my bike was going to be broken at the end. Anyway, I ran it for 90 miles, basically changed the oil, changed the spark plug, changed the filters, and yeah, good to go again. Obviously changed the fuel, but I'd used most of it. I was lucky I didn't hydro lock the engine, because when we did change the oil, it was just full of diesel and it basically squirted out of the sump plug. But it's a very, very robust engine. So certainly for new riders that maybe don't know how to maintain the bikes, or maybe a little bit silly like me, it's a very good option. But if you have made it this far in the video, then don't forget to subscribe. I'm on my way to 10,000 subscribers at the moment, and hopefully by the time you're watching this, I've already hit it. But if I haven't, then please do subscribe, like, share, and comment on my videos. And if you haven't already, check my backlog of videos, because I do a lot of videos like this where I just discuss rules and regulations. They seem to be my most popular videos recently, so do check my other videos out. And if you have any questions or want more videos in the future, then do let me know and I might be able to cover the topic what you requested. So now finally, the one that we've all been waiting for, the full A license. You can get whatever bike you want on this. Now there's two ways to access this. If you've done the previous license, what I've mentioned, and you're on an A2, you can have your A2 for 2 years, and then at the age of 21, or 2 years of riding your A2, you can then go ahead and take your license again, and then you can ride any bike. But you've got to do the full thing again, so you've got to do your Mod 1 and Mod 2. I'm not sure why you've got to do your Mod 2 again, or whichever way it is. I'm not sure why you've got to do the mobility of the bike and the braking. Beyond me. Certainly when you consider the Mt-03 is on that A2 list, or other bigger bikes. Now if you do want to go for direct access, at the age of 24, you can go in, do your test once, and if you pass, then you can get whatever bike you want. Now this again, it's another little crazy rule. I'm not sure, maybe the DVLA believe that as soon as you hit 24 you're a little bit more sensible, but it's crazy. I mean, it's on a case-by-case basis. You could get a 30-year-old that's an absolute idiot that kills himself on a bike, and you could get a 19-year-old that is a really sensible person. It is a little bit wild, and to think that someone that's had no experience on a bike ever can, at the age of 24, just go out and get a Hayabusa. It is baffling, and I do feel like if that is the law for 24-year-olds, it should be the law for everyone. You shouldn't be segregated on your age because they assume that you're less mature or less safe because of your age. Now, do digress a little bit, but yeah, we're getting to the end of the video now. And at the age of 24, you can just get whatever bike you want. You do your test, you do your mod 1, mod 2, sign it off, buy your bike, job's a good one. Now, my process of this, I went through my A2 and I then went through to get my full licence at the age of 21. And it was a very odd experience. So I rode to the test centre on my Yamaha Mt-03, which we've already established is a very, very quick bike for an A2 licence. And I could have potentially failed my test, which is the same test, might I add, on a very similar bike. So the bike's weight was similar, the bike's speed was similar. I think my test was on a Hornet, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the Hornet was probably slower than my Mt-03. So I tip up, I ride to the test centre on my Yamaha Mt-03. I get off my Mt-03, I put it on its side stand, I go into the test centre, speak to the examiner, then get on the Hornet that I'm doing my test on, that is slower than my bike I've turned up on. I can go around the test, fail it, which is the same, come back, I've already got my A2 licence, I've not failed that, that's there, that's in the bank. I failed my A. So then I can get off my A bike, get back onto my A2 bike that's quicker than my A bike I've just failed on, and ride home. Baffling, absolutely baffling. And I appreciate the frustrations that young people have got trying to get into bikes at the moment. And I have seen a petition trying to change these laws. And I don't believe that the restrictions should be removed, but I just do believe that the restrictions should be made by someone that has a clue about engines, you know, motorcycles. Just, it feels like it's been written by someone that has a very, very basic knowledge of vehicles. So let me know what you think about the motorcycle licence and whether it is too confusing for this country. And certainly when you consider other countries, certainly more progressive countries than we've got, they have very, very simple access points to ride motorcycles. And let me know what you think. Another topic for talk is that at the age of 17, when you get your driving licence, if you had the money, you could go out and buy a Ferrari and be, you know, way more dangerous, way quicker, and ultimately you crash one of them, you're probably going to take people out with you. You crash a bike, you're probably just going to take yourself out. So yeah, let me know what you think about the video, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you haven't already, subscribe, like and share, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.